I was on my way from work, rushing back home to see my beautiful pregnant wife waiting for me. The thought of her glowing smile and that adorable baby bump kept me sane through all the chaos of my day. Getting to my driveway, I saw something that almost gave me a heart attack. My mind flashed back to the HOA meeting 2 months ago. Yeah, that cursed one that started all of this madness. Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch HOA drama. It was during that meeting when Karen had just finished her usual bogus announcements, something about lawn lengths and authorized colors for mailboxes. My wife, ever so polite, stood up and announced our baby shower, inviting everyone to join us. The room erupted in cheers and smiles. Everyone was genuinely happy for us, until Karen snapped like a cheap lawn chair and started barking, "Why the hell is she talking without HOA permission?" The room went silent. It was like watching a parade crash into a funeral. The look on Karen's face was pure jealousy. It wasn't about rules. It was about attention, because for once, it wasn't on her. My wife smiled kindly and apologized, even though she did nothing wrong. I bit my tongue because, honestly, if I'd opened my mouth, I would have said something that'd get me kicked out of that meeting real fast. Karen mumbled something about protocol and stomped out like a toddler denied candy. Everyone exchanged awkward glances, then slowly went back to chatting, pretending like it never happened. But I knew right there, Karen wasn't done. That woman had the kind of grudge that could outlive a cactus in the desert. I brushed it off, though, thinking she'd get over it. Maybe she'd realize how petty she sounded. But deep down, I had this uneasy feeling that she was already plotting something nasty. I just didn't know how far she'd go, or that she'd soon turn my wife's pregnancy into a full-blown HOA war zone. Before we dive in deeply, let us know in the comments what country or which city you're watching this story from. We'd love to know how far this story travels. The baby shower day finally arrived, and it was perfect, or at least it started that way. Our backyard was filled with laughter, music, and the smell of grilled chicken drifting through the air. My wife looked radiant, glowing like the sun itself as our friends and neighbors gathered around her, showering her with gifts and love. Even old Mr. Henderson, who never leaves his porch, showed up with a big pink teddy bear. Everyone came, everyone except Karen. At first, I thought maybe she finally decided to be mature and stay home. But knowing Karen, I should have known better. The party was going smooth until there was a knock at the door. I figured it was another guest or delivery, but when I opened the door, there she was, Karen herself, standing there with her arms crossed like a mall cop who's had too much caffeine. "Karen?" I asked, trying to keep it civil. "You came after all." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't flatter yourself," she hissed. "I'm here because there have been multiple noise complaints from your party." I blinked. "Noise complaints? Karen, half the people at this party are your homeowners. Who exactly is complaining? Your dog?" That one got a few laughs from inside. Karen's face twisted into pure rage. You could almost see the steam rising off her head. She started stammering something about HOA regulations and decibel limits. I told her if she wanted to measure something, she could grab a slice of cake and measure how much joy she was missing out on. She stepped closer, wagging a finger at me. "If I hear one more sound coming from this property," she said, "I won't be very nice." I grinned. "Karen, you're not nice now." The whole crowd burst into laughter. Karen's face went red as a fire hydrant. She stood there frozen for a second, then stormed off like an angry pigeon who lost a bread fight. Everyone cheered, but deep down, I had a bad feeling that wasn't the last of her. Karen didn't take humiliation well, and she'd just been roasted in front of the entire neighborhood. It was a Tuesday evening, and I just clocked out from one of the roughest days at work. All I wanted was to get home, kiss my wife, and rest my head on her shoulder while listening to her talk about baby names. She'd been spending her days decorating the nursery and humming blues music, her little escape when she got bored. That woman loved her old school records like nothing else. So, when I turned into our street and heard faint music drifting through the air, it actually made me smile. That was her. My home. My peace. But that peace shattered the second I saw what was happening on our front lawn. Karen, our neighborhood's self-proclaimed dictator, was standing on our grass, waving her hands like a maniac, yelling something at my wife. My pregnant wife. My wife, who should have been resting, not arguing with a banshee in yoga pants. From the distance, I could see my wife trying to calm her down, probably telling her to lower her voice. But Karen kept getting closer, pointing and screaming about noise violations and community disturbance. Then it happened. Before I could even reach the driveway, Karen raised her leg and kicked my wife hard, right in the belly. My blood turned to fire. My wife hit the ground instantly, clutching her stomach and gasping in pain. Karen didn't even look shocked. She was still yelling, claiming my wife assaulted her first. I slammed my brakes so hard the tires screeched, threw open the car door, and sprinted toward them. "What the hell did you just do?" I roared. Karen turned, startled but still defiant. She was disturbing the neighborhood. I didn't think. I reacted. The rage, the sight of my wife on the ground, it was too much. I gave Karen a clean, open-handed smack that sent her stumbling back onto the lawn. She screamed, tried to stand up, but I was already calling 911 with shaking hands. Then she stood up again, cursing me, still yelling. I warned her not to move closer, but she did. So I gave her a second, heavier smack. This time she went down cold. When the police arrived, flashing lights bathed the whole street in chaos. I was kneeling beside my wife as paramedics checked her. She was breathing, trembling, but conscious. Thank God. My hands were still shaking when the officers cuffed me. I didn't fight back. I just kept asking about my wife and the baby. They rushed her to the hospital, and I went along for questioning soon after. At the hospital, doctors confirmed both she and the baby were safe but needed rest. Meanwhile, I was still under observation for what they called a domestic altercation. Karen, who had passed out cold after I smacked her, was also taken to the ER. I didn't care much at first, but when I heard she'd been resuscitated, I knew she'd wake up running her mouth. And I was right. 2 days later, the very day my wife and I were discharged from the hospital, Karen filed charges against me. Assault, battery, endangerment, everything she could possibly list. The audacity was almost impressive. She even showed up to court in a neck brace, limping dramatically like she'd survived a car wreck instead of her own stupidity. But what she didn't know was that my porch camera had caught everything. From her marching onto our lawn, yelling, to that kick she threw at my pregnant wife, it was all there in high definition. When the video played in court, the silence was delicious. Even her lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the desk. The prosecutor tore her story apart. It didn't take long before the judge listed the charges she'd face instead: aggravated assault on a pregnant woman, trespassing, falsifying a police report, harassment, disorderly conduct, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Karen's fake tears dried up in seconds. She tried screaming, claiming she was provoked, but the judge wasn't buying it. The gavel dropped, 15 years in prison and $150,000 restitution. The neighborhood finally breathed again. Even the HOA board dissolved out of embarrassment. My wife smiled at me that night, hand resting gently on her belly. "Told you karma has good timing," she whispered. The end. Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.